Hello everyone, welcome to back my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Hulk. Hogan's life was due to be the subject of a Netflix biopic before the idea was nixed in. But 2024, Eric Bischoff, the Hulkster's longtime friend and former WCW boss, recently explained why the plan was cancelled. Hogan, real name Terry Bollea, passed away on July 24th at the age of 71 after suffering a heart attack. In 2019, news emerged that Australian actor Chris Hemsworth had agreed to play the WWE icon. The idea was put forward by the masterminds behind the Joker movie, director Todd Phillips and writer Scott Silver. On his 83 Weeks podcast, Bischoff recalled how the COVID-19 pandemic and a missed Netflix deadline caused delays. He also revealed that Hogan had doubts about the film because he did not want to upset WWE. Hulk Hogan was one of the biggest names in the wrestling business. The two-time WWE Hall of Famer headlined 8 of the first 9 WrestleMania events as a babyface. He also famously turned heel in WCW in 1996. In 2015, WWE fired Hulk Hogan and removed him from the Hall of Fame after audio emerged of him using racist language. 3 years later, he was reinstated into the Hall of Fame and began making sporadic on-screen appearances again. According to Eric Bischoff, Hogan did not want anything in the biopic to harm his mended relationship with WWE. In a separate video, former WCW and WWE writer Vince Russo reflected on the sad story involving Hogan's family. The wrestling world has always thrived on larger-than-life personalities, backstage stories, and projects that promise to expand the industry's reach beyond the squared circle. One such project that captivated fans for years was the long-rumored Hulk Hogan biopic. At one point, it seemed inevitable that the life and career of one of wrestling's most recognizable figures would be dramatized on the big screen, particularly with Chris Hemsworth attached to play Hogan and Eric Bischoff helping shape the project as an executive producer. Yet, despite the excitement, the film never materialized, leaving fans questioning why such a highly anticipated movie was ultimately shelved. In a recent revelation, Eric Bischoff finally shed light on the real reason why the Hulk Hogan biopic was cancelled, offering a rare look into the complex mix of creative, financial, and cultural factors that doomed the project before it could ever see the light of day. According to Bischoff, the idea of telling Hogan's story was compelling enough to draw in Hollywood heavyweights and major streaming platforms. But as the project developed, multiple roadblocks surfaced. Bischoff explained that one of the central challenges was the sheer scale of Hogan's life story. From his rise in the 1980s as the face of Vince McMahon's World Wrestling Federation to his mainstream popularity in movies, cartoons, and endorsements, Hogan's story was not just about a wrestler, it was about a cultural phenomenon that defined an entire era of entertainment. Translating that into a 2-hour film meant making difficult choices about which parts of Hogan's journey to emphasize. And those creative debates reportedly became more complicated than expected. Bischoff emphasized that the project wasn't cancelled because of a lack of interest, but rather because of an overabundance of challenges. He revealed that licensing and rights issues played a massive role. Hulk Hogan's career is tied to a number of companies, characters, and public personas, all of which come with legal strings attached. For instance, his iconic Real American Entrance theme, his likeness in WWF-era programming, and even certain storyline rivalries would require clearance from WWE and other entities. Securing those rights proved to be an exhausting process, and according to Bischoff, it became one of the insurmountable hurdles. Another issue was the timing of the project. When the idea first gained traction, Chris Hemsworth was fresh off his immense success as Thor in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and his commitment added credibility and star power. However, Hemsworth's busy schedule, combined with the physical transformation he would need to undergo to authentically portray Hogan, meant long delays. Hemsworth himself admitted in past interviews that preparing for the role was unlike anything he had ever done, and the intense physicality of embodying the Hulkster required not just muscle mass, but also the specific proportions that defined Hogan's look. Bischoff confirmed that these concerns further pushed back the project, eventually causing momentum to stall. But perhaps the most revealing part of Bischoff's explanation was his acknowledgement of the changing cultural climate. Hogan's legacy, while monumental, is also complicated. In the mid-2010s, Hogan faced significant controversy over leaked audio tapes containing racist remarks, which led to his firing from WWE at the time and a sharp decline in his public image. While Hogan has since been brought back into the WWE fold and remains respected by many fans, the controversy left lasting scars on his reputation. Bischoff candidly admitted that studios and executives were wary of releasing a project centered around Hogan without facing potential backlash or criticism, especially at a time when audiences are more sensitive to issues of representation and accountability. This fear of controversy, combined with the already challenging logistics of the film, made the project riskier than initially anticipated. Bischoff also pointed out the difficulty of telling Hogan's story without sanitizing it. The former WCW president stressed that Hogan's journey wasn't just about the triumphs of Hulkamania, WrestleMania main events, and merchandise dominance. It also included darker chapters, such as Hogan's departure from WWE, his role in WCW's Monday Night Wars, the ups and downs of his personal life, and his controversial comeback attempts. Bischoff explained that there was no way to make the biopic honest and compelling without addressing these issues, but doing so risked alienating Hogan himself or creating a narrative that Hollywood executives might not feel comfortable backing with a major budget. At one point, Netflix was rumored to be the primary home for the Hogan biopic, with reports suggesting the streaming giant was prepared to invest heavily in the project. Bischoff confirmed that those talks were real, but he noted that negotiations eventually cooled, as the challenges piled up. He suggested that Netflix and other backers simply lost confidence that the film could be delivered in a way that would meet audience expectations, while also avoiding controversy. The business side of the entertainment industry ultimately outweighed the passion behind the idea. For Bischoff, who had been personally invested in seeing Hogan's story told on film, the cancellation was disappointing, but not surprising. He admitted that while the project had incredible potential, the complexities were always looming in the background, and in hindsight, he understood why it collapsed. Yet Bischoff's comments also carried a note of optimism. He didn't rule out the possibility that Hogan's story could still be told someday, perhaps in a different format. He pointed to the rise of long-form documentaries and docuseries as a potential avenue, noting that the success of projects like The Last Dance or WWE's own A&E documentaries prove that fans have an appetite for in-depth explorations of wrestling legends. In such a format, the full scope of Hogan's life, from his rise as the face of Hulkamania to his struggles and eventual redemption, could be explored without the constraints of a 2-hour feature film. Bischoff also touched on the personal side of the project, noting that Hogan himself was deeply invested in how his story would be told. The wrestling icon reportedly wanted to ensure that the film captured not only his professional triumphs, but also the philosophy of Hulkamania, the belief in training, saying prayers, and eating vitamins that inspired millions of children around the world. Balancing that aspirational message with the more controversial aspects of his life was always going to be a challenge. And Bischoff suggested that this tension was never fully resolved during the project's development. The revelation from Bischoff adds a new layer of understanding for fans who had long speculated about the fate of the Hogan biopic. It wasn't simply a matter of lack of interest or creative differences. It was the intersection of legal battles, scheduling conflicts, cultural shifts, and the inherent difficulty of telling the story of someone whose life was as iconic and controversial as Hulk Hogan's. For fans of both wrestling and cinema, the cancellation is bittersweet. On one hand, the idea of Chris Hemsworth transforming into Hulk Hogan under the direction of seasoned producers promised a blockbuster that could have introduced Hogan's legacy to a new generation. On the other hand, the challenges outlined by Bischoff make clear just how daunting the task truly was. For now, Hogan's story remains untold in scripted Hollywood form, though his influence continues to reverberate in the wrestling world and beyond. Bischoff's revelation serves as both an explanation and a reminder of the complexities involved in bringing wrestling's biggest icons to mainstream storytelling. Whether Hogan's life ever gets the feature film treatment may remain uncertain. But one thing is clear. The story of Hulk Hogan is too big, too complex, and too culturally significant to ever truly be forgotten. Thanks for watching this video, and please subscribe our WWE official YouTube channel for more update news.